Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason on top of one of the most engineering marvels ever in the United States, the Eads Bridge. This is one of 4 bridges that connects Illinois to downtown St. Louis. And there's a lot of history I can tell you. It just celebrated its 150th anniversary just a month ago in July of 2024. And I'm not really quite sure what state I'm in. Let's see. Here, let me run the camera out a little bit. Okay, so that is the Illinois side. That's the Mississippi River. That, of course, is the Arch, and that's downtown St. Louis skyline. And this indicates whether I'm in Missouri or Illinois. So let's pretend that I'm standing between the two of them. Okay, fair enough. But I'm gonna go ahead and make my way over there to the Gateway Arch National Park. I'll give you a little bit better view of the whole of the bridge, so come with me. So as I get closer to Missouri side, I'm gonna look over and see the Gateway Arch National Park. I'm gonna stay on that platform eventually. Ooh, oh, just stepped on some litter. And they also have some viewing areas, but I'd be very careful. There's broken glass, all kinds of litter. But either way, it's a great view. And that bridge over there, by the way, is the Poplar Street Bridge, which carries Interstate 55 and 64. And that is the Laclede's Landing area. And next to that is the Martin Luther King Bridge, or simply known locally as the King Bridge. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my way down there. So really I should start by saying this bridge has many firsts, or it's a bridge of many firsts. For starters, it is the oldest bridge standing on the Mississippi River. It was not the first bridge to span or go over the Mississippi River, but perhaps the first of its kind. It was the first to cross the Mississippi south of the Missouri River, which is about 15 to 20 miles north of here. But it was also the first to carry railroad tracks. So the bridge is named for its designer and head builder, James Buchanan Eads. Eads was hired by the St. Louis Bridge and Iron Company in 1867. By that time, he was known as the self-educated engineer, and he built up an impressive resume. Eads had built several ironclad gunboats during the Civil War, so he had quite a reputation. And he drew out plans for this bridge, but not very many people were enthused about Eads' vision for this forthcoming bridge in 1867. Several engineers balked at his original design, saying it was too difficult. Also, one of the partners in the project that was led by a group that was led by Andrew Carnegie, who at the time was a steel magnate, one of the most powerful people at the time, he thought using steel was dangerous. Even the thought of having steel arches. Now, please note the steel arches, you know, which would, of course, inspire the Gateway Arch, which is just, yeah, right behind me. But getting back to the point, Eads did believe in the bridge, since no such type of building had been done before. Eads often studied the current and the waves of the mighty Mississippi. He would also declare that the new bridge be built upon bedrock, and eventually the project was given the green light. And so that would require lots and lots of digging. At the time, which technology was definitely booming. I mean, of course, it would be more prominent during the 20th century, but at the time, there would be machines where they would let workers dig underneath, like even in the river, but they'd be inside a little thing where they let workers dig up sand. However, that would be kind of disastrous to the workers' health. And speaking of health-wise, well, during the building of the bridge, Eads was having mental health problems, probably because, you know, maybe some things didn't work out or too many doubters or whatnot, but he went to France to recuperate. And over there, he studied the way they did modern bridges as well. And he learned more about the building a large bridge with the right parts. And so he came back with some altered ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and step on top of this platform, which may give me a little bit of better viewing sense. This is the Captain William Clark overlook by the Jefferson National Expansion Memorial Association, put there in 1973. Okay, so what we're looking at is the west end of the Eads Bridge. Definitely, I mean, it's really cool to see all the, you know, the old stones and all the, everything that, the brick, everything that put the bridge together. Even the railroad underpass and all that. But the bridge dates back to 1874, and last month, this is August 2024 as I'm doing this video, but on July 4th, of course, Independence Day for the United States, it was opened that day in 1874. Now, last month was the 150th celebration, and they had a little ceremony going on here for the 150th birthday on that day, July 4th of 2024. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it, but they had it, I believe, at the actual Gateway Arch Museum, if I'm not mistaken. But at the time, this had a double-deck structure, and still does. Now, the top part was known for carrying passengers, like, I mean, like, not passengers, but cars and horses and buggies. And as you can see, there's a walkway, and where I was standing was like right over there. But at one time, the middle deck, or the lower deck, at one time carried trolleys and streetcars, and those rails were taken away, and today it carries MetroLink. And as of course you can probably hear and see it, a MetroLink car coming from the east direction just stopped, and that is actually a MetroLink station over there. That actually started in 1993, and 31 years later, still going strong. What can I say? And by the way, I did read somewhere when I was doing the research for this that this is actually the only, I mean, it was the only light rail to go through two different states, from Missouri to Illinois. I did not know that. I didn't think that was true, but whatever. So at the time, in 1874, people were not convinced by the strength of the bridge. So what happened was, in 1874, a circus guy and his elephant walked across the bridge from here to there, and no problems. But there were still a lot of skeptics who were not convinced by this whole thing, and so what they did was, another test was, they put 14 locomotives going through the bridge. They filled them with water and coal. Yeah, that would kind of not make me sleep well at night, but but it did happen, and onlookers who were, you know, looking across both sides of the river, they watched and nothing happened. But Eads was convinced that his bridge would go as long as the pyramids, and those were his words. And today, the bridge is going strong. Who knows how many years or decades or whatnot this bridge will stay, but it is showing no signs of slowing down, as opposed to most bridges that have been torn down and repaired over the years, especially in the St. Louis area. So why was the Eads Bridge built in the first place? Well, going back to 1839, the idea of building a bridge that would connect Missouri to Illinois and St. Louis was being talked about. Chicago, which most St. Louisans know and Chicagoans know, we've had a long-standing rivalry with them, mostly over baseball, but also who would be the much better city. Well, Chicago was gaining a lot of population, a lot of commerce, a lot of business, and a lot of railroads, because the city was being connected to railroads, and plus it had a great place on Lake Michigan for shipping and all that. But St. Louis, it was on the Mississippi River, and they definitely wanted to be connected to railroads too. So decades later, well, fast forward to the end of the Civil War around 1866, both city leaders as well as residents wanted something that would connect St. Louis to the rest of the world besides a river. So the bridge was definitely a no-brainer. But before this bridge came about, 3 ferries actually were in service here in this river. So that over there is the Casino Queen, or the Draft Kings, whatever you want to call it. I still call it the Queen. That's East St. Louis. And East St. Louis at the time was a growing city, as well as St. Louis itself. But so ferries, you know, they transported people, goods, animals, horses, you name it. They were strong, but yeah, that they knew it wasn't going to last forever. So the bridge was definitely on the list of priorities. And you also got to remember, of course, railroads were king at the time because, yeah, cars were not invented yet, neither was auto travel. But they knew that, you know, something on top would be good for people who would want to walk or go by horse and buggy or whatever carriage to go from East St. Louis to St. Louis, and then have that strictly for like rail purposes. And not many people actually did drive on top of it. I mean, yeah, during the 20th century when auto travel was becoming more dominant, you know, like people were traveling by cars and trucks and whatnot, it was actually a toll bridge for the longest time, up until I believe 1989. But in 1991, the bridge closed to vehicular traffic, and it was just limited to railroads. But that wasn't a problem because there were two other bridges that connected to St. Louis from Illinois, including the Poplar Street as well as the King Bridge. And also the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge did not exist at the time. But 2003 was when vehicular traffic made a comeback, and yeah, lots of people drive on it today. But I've been over that bridge many times, mostly through the MetroLink. Yes, I am a MetroLink rider most of the time when I'm in St. Louis, when I go to events and do videos. So now I'm going to go technically underneath the bridge, and I see a new plaque that was being put on here, and that was the MetroLink. That noise above me. But this plaque, I don't know exactly when it was placed. It was definitely not 1971, but this is a National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. It was designated in 1971, and it basically says the same stuff I just said, named for James B. Eads, the self-trained engineer who oversaw the design and construction, pioneering innovations including steel alloy arches, a cantilever erection process of the superstructure that did not impede riverboat traffic during construction, and revolutionary air pressurized caissons, among the world's deepest at the time, allowing excavation by hand down 123 feet to bedrock. Yeah, that is quite a long ways to build stone piers. The bridge, with a 320-foot central arch span and total length of 6,444 feet, still supports both light rail and roadway decks. Man. And that right there is the MetroLink station. So what I'm going to do is go down a little further, close to the river. But I'm going to go underneath the bridge again. And for some reason, I'm really fascinated by this whole arch thing. And I'm really curious as to if these were actually like doors or ways to, you know, like there's something behind that door, but that's probably just maintenance stuff. And here we are back in the Gateway Arch National Park again. So now this is Eleanor Sullivan Boulevard, which is the easternmost road in downtown St. Louis, but this takes you, of course, closer to the arch and to the steps. And most of it's blocked off, but yeah, this was a special award of recognition that was put up there in 1974. For the James Eads Bridge, the American Institute of Steel Construction put up in 1974, the 100th anniversary. Yeah, I'm underneath the bridge again. How about that? I'll tell you one more story related to the bridge. Now, you know, a lot of people kind of like to hang around the Mississippi, and I mean, sometimes maybe homeless as well. But legend has it that W.C. Handy, yes, one of the fathers of the blues music genre, he was living in St. Louis. He's originally from Mississippi, but he was living in St. Louis for a time, and he was desperately looking for song ideas, and he would sometimes sleep underneath the Eads Bridge. I don't know if it was because he was homeless or I don't know, but anyway, it was reportedly there that he thought of the idea of composing St. Louis blues. Yes, One of the most famous songs in American history. Yeah, it was right in this area where W.C. Handy once dreamt of composing the music of St. Louis blues. Yep, dreams happen, even at the Eads Bridge. All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason, just standing next to close to the bottom of the Eads Bridge in St. Louis. It's definitely one of the most legendary bridges ever in America. It is not the oldest, but there are lots of bridges older than this in America, but this is definitely one of the most standout ones, and hopefully I convinced you why. All right, I am Jason, downtown St. Louis, signing off.